So in the previous lecture, we have already discussed about the abnormal RBCs and related stuff. From this lecture, we are going to see upon these three topics, that is the red cell membrane. We are going to talk about the functions of RBCs, and we are also going to talk about the fragility of RBCs in detail, right? So first, we will progress with the red cell membrane. So when we are talking about the red cell membrane or the RBC membrane, we should be knowing its composition, right? What is the composition of RBC membrane, right? So in cellular physiology, if I will just write it down, in cellular physiology, right, that is prior to blood physiology, you must have studied about these three components which make up the cell membrane, that is the lipids, the proteins and the carbohydrates that are there, right? So obviously in each and every cell membrane that you are going to see, you will be seeing these three basic components: lipid, carbohydrates and proteins, right? Also, if I remember, when we used to study NCERT in 11th class in cell structure and function, there was also this line that 52% in the cell membrane, only 52% they are the lipids and 40% are proteins, and rest whatever is left are the carbohydrates. So from that definition only, you guys know that lipids, they are major, right? If I am talking about lipids, then they are majorly present, right? They make up a larger constituency, right? They make up a larger percentage of the composition of RBC membrane. Then proteins, they are also major, right? They are also major, but I will say that they are less than the lipids. So they are less than the lipids, right? The percentage of lipids. Carbohydrates, they make up minor composition of the RBC membrane, right? Now, before talking about this RBC membrane in very much detail, I would like to know, or rather I would like to tell you guys the importance of red cell membrane. So do you guys know what is the importance of the red cell membrane? The importance of the red cell membrane basically is that this membrane is the most extensively studied membrane. It is the most extensively studied cell membrane, right? So basically this the plasma membrane of RBC is very easily accessible, right? So that's why what all researches are done, right? जो भी हमें नए नए अपडेट्स मिलते रहते हैं सेल मेम्ब्रेन के बारे में, वो यूजुअली हम बोल सकते हैं 90% RBCs के थ्रू ही पता लगते हैं, right? Because the cell membrane of RBCs, it is easily accessible, especially in blood. तो 100 ml ब्लड को बाहर निकाल के उसका स्लाइड बना वगैरह करके देख सकते हैं, राइट? सो दैट्स व्हाई आरबीसी मेम्ब्रेन इज मोस्ट एक्सटेंसिवली स्टडीड सेल मेम्ब्रेन. और जो एनसीईआरटी में जो अपडेट, एनसीईआरटी में जो एक लाइन लिखी हुई है कि 52% क्या होते हैं, लिपिड्स होते हैं, और 40% प्रोटीन्स होते हैं, वो भी आरबीसी मेम्ब्रेन के कंटेक्स्ट में ही लिखी गई है, ठीक है? सो 40% आर द प्रोटीन्स, राइट, एंड 52% आर द लिपिड्स, ठीक है? तो ये जो चीज़ है वो भी आरबीसी मेम्ब्रेन के कंटेक्स्ट में, यूँ कहें कि आरबीसी मेम्ब्रेन की रेफरेंस में ही उन्होंने लिखी है, राइट? सो coming to the composition of the RBC membrane, right, we know that there are three components: lipids, proteins and carbohydrates. So first let's talk about the lipid bilayer. Now we know very well कि किसी भी सेल की अगर अपन बात करें तो लिपिड्स कैसे अरेंज हैं. लिपिड्स एक बायलेयर में अरेंज होते हैं, ठीक है? अगर आप में से किसी को नहीं पता, आई विल जस्ट एक्सप्लेन यू. Before explaining you, I will now first draw the structure of a lipid. So this is a lipid. This is the head of the lipid, right? This is the head of the lipid, and this here is the tail of the lipid, right? That is the head and that is the tail of the lipid. Now the head of the lipid, it is hydrophilic, that means it is water loving, while the tail, it is hydrophobic, that means it is water hating, या यूँ कहें कि it is repelled by water, right? So it is hydrophobic. Now what happens? Let's suppose, okay, so here I am going to draw, this is the cellular boundary, the internal one, and this here that I am drawing is the external cellular boundary. Okay, now it becomes very easy to explain you कि जो हमारी लिपिड है, ये जो हमारे लिपिड्स हैं, ये एक बायलेयर में अरेंज्ड है. ये किस में अरेंज्ड है? ये एक बायलेयर में अरेंज्ड है. दे आर अरेंज्ड इन अ बायलेयर. दैट मीन्स देयर आर टू रोज ऑफ लिपिड्स. सो लेट मी ड्रॉ हियर. यू कैन सी देयर आर 2 rows ऑफ लिपिड्स, ठीक है। तो ये जो रो है सबसे ऊपर वाली उसको अपन ए रो बोलेंगे और नीचे वाली को अपन क्या बोल रहे हैं, बी रो, ठीक है। वेरी इजी, आई थिंक यहाँ तक सबको समझ आया। नाउ what happens is, my question is, not what happens, my question to you guys is that why the head of the lipid is facing upwards and the tail is facing downwards in A row, while in B row, listen very carefully, while in B row what is happening, the tail is facing upwards and the head is facing downwards. Why it is happening? So very basic answer is, very basic answer, the answer to this question is that we know that outside, if we are having a combination of cells or in a tissue, if we see we have, let's suppose 4 cells, 1 2 3 4, there are 4 cells, or let me draw this thing also here. So I am having 1 2 3 and 4 cells, right? So inside the cell, if I am talking about inside the cell, what is there here? Inside the cell there is cytoplasm, and cytoplasm also it is having water. What is outside the cell? Outside the cell, in this space or above the cell, this adjacent to cell, like in all this area, all the 4 sides of the cell outside, we can say there is interstitial space. We can say there is ISS, there is interstitial space. So isn't it very simple to understand that cytoplasm is also having water, at the same time the interstitial space is also having water. So now, because both cytoplasm and interstitial spaces, they are having water, so what I have done is, the head is hydrophilic, I know, the tail is hydrophobic, that also I know. So I have to arrange the lipid molecule in such a manner that the head as well as the tail, they remain happy. Okay, now let's try to understand one thing more. दिस इज व्हाट इज नॉर्मल, ठीक है। जो मैं येलो डॉटेड लाइन बना रहा हूँ, इसके अंदर जो भी ये वाली चीज आपको दिख रही है, ये पूरा, राइट, दिस वन, दिस थिंग, दिस इज नॉर्मल। नॉर्मली ऐसे अरेंजमेंट ही रहती है। अब नाउ टू ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड नॉर्मल, हम एक बार एबनॉर्मल को समझते हैं, ठीक है। नाउ व्हाट इफ मेरा हेड जो है लिपिड का वो अंदर की साइड है और जो टेल है वो बाहर की साइड है, राइट, और नीचे वाली रो में मेरी टेल अंदर की साइड है और जो हेड है वो बाहर की साइड है, राइट। नाउ इन दिस केस व्हाट हैपेंस, you know that the tail that you are seeing here, which is drawn with red color, this tail, it is basically what? It is hydrophobic. We know it is hydrophobic, right? It is hydrophobic. तो अगर ये hydrophobic है, that means ये water को repel करती है. This is water repelling, और you कहें simple words में that it is water hitting. और ये जो tail है वो किसकी तरफ face कर रही है? It is facing towards the interstitial space. And just now we talked that the interstitial space is having water. Right? Just now we talked about that the interstitial space is having water, and if the tail is facing towards the water will be repelled and hodgepodge will be created. तो अपन इस तरीके से समझ सकते हैं कि ये मेरा सेल है और सेल के चारों दिशाओं में फिर पानी रहेगा ही नहीं। तो अगर हमारे सेल को वाटर चाहिए, हाउ इज वाटर गोइंग टू कम? बिकॉज द टेल ऑफ द लिपिड दे आर गोइंग टू रिपेल वाटर, राइट। और वाटर यूजुअली किसके साथ आता है सोडियम के साथ आता है, राइट। तो सोडियम विल ऑल्सो बी रिपेल्ड, राइट। सो दिस इज हाउ यू अंडरस्टैंड थिंग्स। नाउ अब नीचे वाला समझते हैं। अपन ने ए रो का डिस्कशन करा, बी रो में क्या दिक्कत है? बी रो में भी सेम दिक्कत है। देखो, दिस टाइम ऑल्सो दिस टेल इज फेसिंग टुवर्ड्स द साइटोप्लाज्म, दिस टेल इज फेसिंग टुवर्ड्स द साइटोप्लाज्म, एंड साइटोप्लाज्म में भी क्या है? वाटर है, राइट। साइटोप्लाज्म इज आल्सो हैविंग वाटर। तो अगेन क्या होगा? वाटर रिपेल हो जाएगा एंड एसोसिएटेड प्रॉब्लम्स आने लग जाएंगे। सो नाउ यू हैव अंडरस्टूड दैट व्हाई हमने जो हेड है उसको बाहर रखा। अच्छा, ए रो वाले नॉर्मली अगर अपन बात करें, ए रो में अपन ने हेड को बाहर क्यों रखा? क्योंकि बाहर वाटर है और जो हेड है इट लव्स वाटर, इट लव्स टू बाइंड विद वाटर। तो अगर वाटर को सेल के अंदर आना है, इट्स वेरी इजी, राइट, फॉर वाटर टू कम इनसाइड द सेल। आई होप यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग। Now what about in B row? In B row what is happening? In B row also same things are happening. हमने हेड को अंदर की साइड रखा because we know the head is facing towards the cytoplasm, और cytoplasm में क्या है? cytoplasm में water है, right? And it will be easy for the head to attract water towards the cytoplasmic phase of the cell. Right? So this is about the lipid bilayer. So now let us discuss few points about the lipid bilayer. Do you know lipids? They are nothing but fats. Right? Lipids, they are nothing but fats. लिपिड्स को नॉर्मली इंटरचेंजेबली फैट के साथ भी यूज कर दिया जाता है, राइट। फैट टर्म के साथ भी लिपिड को एसोसिएट कर दिया जाता है। दीज लिपिड्स जो हमारे सेल मेम्ब्रेन में है, ये जो लिपिड्स हैं, दे आर बेसिकली फॉस्फोलिपिड्स। दैट मीन्स नॉर्मल लिपिड्स आप लोगों ने बायोकेमिस्ट्री में स्ट्रक्चर पढ़ा होगा लिपिड्स का, नॉर्मल लिपिड्स और उनके साथ कौन सा कंपाउंड अटैच कर दिया हमने, फॉस्फेट कंपाउंड अटैच कर दिया। तो इस तरीके के लिपिड्स आरबीसी की सेल मेम्ब्रेन में पाए जाएंगे, राइट। Also in the cell membrane of RBCs we are going to get a compound which is cholesterol, right, which is cholesterol. Now what is the work of cholesterol? Yes, what is the work of cholesterol? So cholesterol basically, this cholesterol basically it is going to stabilize or provide stability to the lipid bilayer. It is going to provide stability to the lipid bilayer. This is one point, right? The second point that you need to know here is that, do you guys know what happens sometimes if this is the blood capillary? Let's say if this is the blood capillary and blood is flowing inside the capillary. Here I am having my endothelial cells, right? Here I am having the endothelial cells, the cells which are lining the lumen of the capillary obviously. इन सेल्स पे आकर मेरे आरबीसीज चिपक जाएंगे, राइट, मेरे आरबीसीज इन सेल पे आकर चिपक जाएंगे। अब आरबीसी की मैंने ऐसी शेप क्यों बनाई, बिकॉज आई नो द आरबीसीज आर बाइकनकेव इन शेप। पिछले लेक्चर में अपन ने डिटेल में डिस्कस करा है, ठीक है, क्यों बाइकनकेव है, ठीक है। बाइकनकेविटी कौन मेंटेन कर रहा है, बीच में न्यूक्लियस इज एब्सेंट, राइट, दैट्स व्हाई व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, देयर इज अ डिप्रेशन क्रिएटेड इन बिटवीन दी टू मेम्ब्रेन्स, टू साइडेड मेम्ब्रेन ऑफ द आरबीसी, ठीक है। एक डिप्रेशन बन जाएगा जिसकी वजह से वो बीच में से ऐसे धस जाएंगी, राइट, दैट्स व्हाई वी सी द डिप्रेशन एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी कॉल द आरबीसीज दे आर कनकेव, ओके, बाइकनकेव। ऑल्सो इफ यू गाइज नो कि आरबीसी की पेरिफेरी पे अगर उसका डायमीटर देखें सो दैट इज 2 माइक्रोमीटर, बट अगर बीच में देखें दैट इज सॉरी नॉट द डायमीटर, द थिकनेस पेरिफेरी में that is in the boundary. If we see the thickness of the RBC, it is 2 micrometer, but in central it is 1 micrometer. So that is also because of the absence of nucleus, and nucleus is present in the center. So that's why periphery को इतना effect नहीं करेगा, center को वो करेगा. That's why biconcave shape is also explained. So this concept explains you one thing, the biconcave shape, and one thing, the variation in the thickness as we go from center to periphery. So पिछले lecture का भी थोड़ा सा अपन रिवाइज करते करते चलेंगे अगर मौका मिला तो. So that is biconcave shape, right? Now what happens is that कभी कभी क्या होता है, जो RBC थे इधर चिपक जाते हैं, right, एंडोथेलियल मेम्ब्रेन पर ये चिपक जाते हैं, right? So what happens is जिसकी वजह से क्या होगा, यहाँ पे अपन बोल सकते हैं एक थ्रोम्बस फॉर्म हो सकता है, राइट, बट वी कैन से एक थ्रोम्बस फॉर्म हो सकता है. थ्रोम्बस बोले या बोल सकते हैं एक मास फॉर्म हो सकता है. थ्रोम्बस टर्म से आप अभी एक्वेंटेड नहीं होंगे तो मैं मास टर्म का यूज करूंगा, राइट. एक मास फॉर्म हो सकता है इस जगह पर, और अगर ये मास बढ़ता गया, लेट सपोज यहाँ इस पूरे एरिया में इतने ज़्यादा आरबीसी भर गए हैं तो ब्लड को फ्लो करने के लिए कुछ कम एरिया नहीं मिल जाएगा, ऑब्वियसली द एरिया विल बी लेस, राइट. आई होप यू गाइस अंडरस्टैंड दिस थिंग, एंड दैट्स ग्रेट. Now what happens, अगर ये मास बनता गया तो there will be pathological conditions associated, like a famous condition atherosclerosis. हालांकि वो फैट से बनता है, फैट का मास होता है वो, but yes, you know the we can say the symptoms would be the same. ठीक है, जो symptoms आएंगे पेशेंट को वो सेम होंगे, सेम दिक्कतें पेशेंट फेस करेगा. Why? Because a mass is formed, the blood flow के लिए अपने पास कम एरिया है. So I hope you can see that this complete thing where the dot is moving here, this thing, राइट, ये जो पूरी चीज़ है ये एक मास है और यहाँ पूरा ब्लड फ्लो करता है. ब्लड फ्लो के लिए सिर्फ ये एक एरिया बनता है, राइट. ऑब्वियसली ब्लड फ्लो रेस्ट्रिक्ट होता है. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस, तो इसमें लिपिड बायलेयर का मैंने जिक्र क्यों किया, बिकॉज व्हाट हैपेंस, दिस लिपिड बायलेयर, यस, दिस लिपिड बायलेयर, इट बेसिकली प्रोवाइड्स अ स्लिपरी एक्सटीरियर. ये हमारे आरबीसी की मेम्ब्रेन को क्या करती है, एक स्लिपरी एक्सटीरियर दे देती है. स्लिपरी एक्सटीरियर मतलब जो आरबीसी का बाहरी साइड है, दैट इज द नॉन साइटोसोलिक, द वी कैन से द मेम्ब्रेन ऑफ द आरबीसी व्हिच इज फेसिंग टुवर्ड्स द इंटरस्टिशियल स्पेस. दिस वन, ये वाली मेम्ब्रेन जहाँ पे मैं ब्लू कलर कर रहा हूँ, ये वाली इस साइड, राइट. दिस इज फेसिंग टुवर्ड्स द इंटरस्टिशियल स्पेस. यहाँ पे भी लिपिड्स हैं, राइट, और यहाँ पे पर्टिकुलरली क्या है, हेड्स हैं, राइट, हेड्स ऑफ द लिपिड. तो बेसिकली व्हाट हैपेंस, ड्यू टू दिस थिंग, आरबीसीज दे बिकम स्लिपरी. RBCs become slippery, and that's why they do not stick to the endothelium. That's why they do not stick to the endothelium. That's why they do not stick to the endothelium. Right? So that's all about lipid bilayer. यही था जितना मुझे बताना था लिपिड बायलेयर के बारे में. बाकी आप अपनी अपनी बुक्स देखेंगे तो इसी से रिलेटेड कंटेंट मिलेगा. My aim, the aim of the physiological channel is to educate you about the basics of physiology, ताकि आप कोई सी भी बुक पढ़ें तो आपको आसानी से समझ आए चीज़ें. Right, now we'll progress ourselves to membrane proteins. Okay, membrane proteins क्या है? व्हाट आर मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स। तो अगर आपने सेलुलर फिजियोलॉजी नहीं भी पढ़ी तो मैं इस तरीके से यहाँ पर आपको पढ़ाऊंगा कि आपको सब चीज़ें समझ आने लग जाएंगी, राइट। तो मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स की अगर अपन बात करें तो देखो मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स का मतलब क्या होता है, बड़ा जनरल सा मीनिंग है। अगर हमारे पास एक लिपिड बायलेयर है, राइट, आई विल नाउ ड्रॉ द लिपिड बायलेयर वंस अगेन। सो पूरी नहीं बना रहे हैं, ओनली दिस मच, राइट। सो दिस इज द लिपिड बायलेयर, राइट। अब अगर मेरे पास लिपिड बायलेयर है तो मेरे पास क्या है बीच बीच में, आई एम हैविंग व्हाट, आई एम हैविंग, ओके फर्स्ट लेट मी ड्रॉ द लिपिड्स, दीज आर द लिपिड्स। लिपिड एक दूसरे से बहुत ज़्यादा क्लोज कॉन्टैक्ट में रहेगी, राइट। तो इन पूरे एरिया में इस तरीके से क्या होगा, लिपिड्स विल बी देयर, ओके। नाउ तो इन प्रोटीन्स का मतलब क्या है, ये प्रोटीन्स कहाँ पर रहेंगे, क्या प्रोटीन्स अंदर रहेंगे, प्रोटीन्स भी रह सकते हैं। प्रोटीन्स दो जगह पर रह सकते हैं, या तो प्रोटीन्स लिपिड के इस तरीके से बाहर लगे होंगे, दैट मीन्स टुवर्ड्स द इंटरस्टिशियल साइड ऑफ द प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन। तो ये हमारी प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन है, यहाँ पे अपना अंदर क्या है, साइटोप्लाज्म है, बाहर इंटरस्टिशियल स्पेस है। तो कुछ प्रोटीन्स ऐसे होंगे जो किसको फेस करेंगे, जो कि फेस करेंगे टुवर्ड्स द इंटरस्टिशियल स्पेस, and at the same time there will be certain proteins which are going to face towards the cytoplasmic phase of the cell membrane, that means towards the cytoplasm they are going to face, but also at the same time there will be certain proteins जो जो we can say interstitial साइड से आ रहे हैं, जो कि interstitial साइड से आ रहे हैं और साइटोप्लाज्मिक साइड की तरफ जा रहे हैं, जो कि interstitial साइड से आ रहे हैं और साइटोप्लाज्मिक साइड की तरफ जा रहे हैं। तो इन प्रोटीन्स को okay, so there are how many types of proteins, there are two types of proteins, there are two types of membrane proteins that I have discussed। कौन कौन से टाइप के प्रोटीन मैंने आपसे डिस्कस करे, सिंपल थिंग इज that there are certain proteins which are present at the interstitial side of the plasma membrane, right, or I can say there are two types of proteins, right। One type of protein is such that it is only present at the surface of the cell membrane, that it is only present at the surface of the cell membrane in such a manner that it is present on the नॉन साइटोसोलिक सरफेस ऑफ द सेल मेम्ब्रेन। नॉन साइटोसोलिक से मेरा मतलब क्या है, नॉन साइटोसोलिक मींस ऐसा यू नो लिपिड बाइलेयर है, ठीक है, लिपिड एक अंदर की साइड है और बाहर की साइड है। तो जो बाहर की साइड है वो इंटरस्टिशियल स्पेस को फेस करेंगे, राइट। तो मतलब वो साइटोप्लाज्म को तो फेस नहीं कर रहे, दे आर फेसिंग टुवर्ड्स द इंटरस्टिशियल स्पेस, दैट्स व्हाई मैं उनको क्या बोल सकता हूँ, नॉन साइटोसोलिक फेस ऑफ द सेल साइकिल, राइट। और जो साइटोप्लाज्म की तरफ जो लिपिड बाइलेयर फेस कर रही है, अगर अपन अपने पुराने डायग्राम की तरफ से देखें तो यहाँ पर मैं एक बहुत आसान बात बोल सकता हूँ कि जो मेरी ए लेयर है दैट इज द नॉन साइटोसोलिक फेज ऑफ द सेल मेम्ब्रेन, और ये जो बी लेयर है दैट इज द साइटोसोलिक फेज ऑफ द सेल मेम्ब्रेन, राइट। तो देयर आर टू टाइप्स ऑफ प्रोटीन्स, वन टाइप ऑफ प्रोटीन इज सच दैट इट इज ओनली प्रेजेंट एट द सरफेस ऑफ द सेल मेम्ब्रेन, बी इट द नॉन साइटोसोलिक फेज और द साइटोसोलिक फेज, ठीक है। Then there are other types of proteins which are extending, which are coming from the non-cytosolic phase, but they are reaching towards the cytosolic phase, right? It feels like they are carrying something. ये जो proteins हैं, ये red colors से मैंने बनाए हैं, वो बाहर से कोई चीज ला रहे हैं और वो अंदर छोड़ रहे हैं, right? So we'll discuss these type of proteins. तो अभी जो मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स हैं, एज आई टोल्ड यू, आरबीसी की मेम्ब्रेन में प्रोटीन्स कितने हैं 40% और लिपिड्स कितने हैं 52%, और जितना बाकी का बच गया वो अपना कार्बोहाइड्रेट है, राइट। सो मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स की अगर अपन बात करें तो सिंपल सी एक बात हम बोल सकते हैं कि जो मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स है इनको हमने दो कैटेगरीज में डिवाइड कर रखा है। जो मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स है इनको हमने दो कैटेगरीज में डिवाइड कर रखा है। कौन कौन सी कैटेगरीज, एक तो है पेरिफेरल प्रोटीन्स, वन वी आर हैविंग पेरिफेरल प्रोटीन्स एंड द अदर दैट वी हैव इज द इंटीग्रल प्रोटीन्स, राइट। तो कितने तरीके की अपन ने प्रोटीन्स देखे, वी हैव पेरिफेरल प्रोटीन्स एंड आल्सो वी आर हैविंग इंटीग्रल प्रोटीन्स, राइट। सो वी आर हैविंग टू टाइप्स ऑफ प्रोटीन्स, टू टाइप्स ऑफ मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स इन द आरबीसी, नॉट इन द आरबीसी, जनरल बात हो रही है अभी, ठीक है। पेरिफेरल मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स कौन से होते हैं, पेरिफेरल मेम्ब्रेन प्रोटीन्स वो होते हैं, so peripheral membrane proteins are those which are present on the surface of cell membrane, ठीक है। ये सरफेस पे होते हैं, कहाँ पे, दे आर प्रेजेंट ऑन द सरफेस ऑफ सेल मेम्ब्रेन, राइट। व्हाट ऑल एग्जांपल्स डू वी हैव ऑफ दिस काइंड ऑफ प्रोटीन्स, वी आर हैविंग cytochrome C, then we have spectrin, then we have ankyrin। तो ये जो तीन प्रोटीन्स हैं, मैं यहाँ पे आपको एक स्टॉक नहीं दूंगा एग्जांपल्स का, बिकॉज आई फील दैट लर्निंग अ स्टॉक ऑफ एग्जांपल्स is a stupidity, right? We should always focus towards what are the main examples, right, which are asked in university exams or which are clinically important, right? So peripheral proteins, as I told you, they are present on the surface of the cell membrane, right? 3 examples I have told you: cytochrome C, spectrin and keratin, right? So peripheral proteins यहाँ पर कौन से हुए? Again जो मैंने blue color से बनाए हैं, they are the peripheral proteins. That means this is a peripheral protein and this is also a peripheral protein. Okay? Now integral proteins. Now integral proteins are those types of proteins which are coming from, which are extending. I should say they are extending from the non-cytosolic phase, right? We can say that they are extending from the non-cytosolic phase of the cell membrane to the cytosolic phase of cell membrane, right? What are the examples of these kinds of proteins? We have band 3 protein, right? Band 3 protein we are having glycophorins, right? We are having glycophorins also. Then also in integral proteins we are also having rhodopsin, right? If you are aware of rhodopsin is a pigment present in the eyes, right? So that is also a protein. Now these integral proteins, जो integral proteins हैं, I will draw the lipid bilayer once again to make this point very clear to you. This is the lipid bilayer that I have drawn. Now what happens is that I have an integral protein, this is the integral protein that I am having in this side. This is one integral protein. Now this integral protein is coming from the non-cytosolic phase towards the cytosolic phase. How many times? It is crossing only one time. Okay. Now I am drawing one another protein. Right? It is coming from now non-cytosolic phase to cytosolic phase, then going back to the non-cytosolic phase, then coming to the cytosolic phase, then going back to the non-cytosolic phase, then coming back to the cytosolic phase, then going back to the non-cytosolic phase. Are you getting my point? So, how many times it is crossing? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me count. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6. 6 times. 6 times this protein is running between the non-cytosolic phase and the cytosolic phase, the non-cytosolic phase and the cytosolic phase, the non-cytosolic phase, the cytosolic phase. Right? So what happens? We are having 2 types of integral proteins, right? Are you trying to understand it? We are having 2 types of integral proteins, right? We are having 2 types of integral proteins. We are having 2 types of integral proteins. One type of integral proteins are such that they are going to cross the membrane only once. One type of integral proteins are such that they are going to cross the membrane only once, and such type of proteins are called as single pass integral proteins. They are called single pass integral proteins, and guess what? They have got a alternative name. They are called as monotopic proteins. They are called as monotopic proteins, right? Monotopic integral proteins, right? Then we have multipass, right? We have multipass, like the last example that we discussed. It was coming from non-cytosolic phase, cytosolic, then returning back to the non-cytosolic phase, then coming back to the cytosolic phase. So there are multipass integral proteins, and guess what? They have also got an alternative name that is called as polytopic integral proteins. They are called as polytopic integral proteins, right? So I think we should highlight these points because they are very important, right? Now I will be listing examples of polytopic proteins, right? And these are nothing new: band 3 protein, right? And glycophorins, right? Do you know how many times does band 3 protein just traverses the membrane of RBC, right? So it is traversing the membrane of RBCs 12 times, right? 12 times it is traversing the membrane of RBCs. and glycophorins, I don't remember the exact number, but yes, it may be 7 glycophorins. They're traversing the membrane. Do you know what is traversing? Traversing is how many times they're crossing the membrane. So that is returning from, coming from non-cytosolic, cytosolic, cytosolic, non-cytosolic, non-cytosolic, cytosolic. That type I'm talking about. Okay. So integral protein is done. Now we should come back to the peripheral proteins. There are certain points that I left here. Like integral proteins also, peripheral proteins, there are also two types. There are also of two types. I will be listing their types here only. Okay, there are two types. They can be cytosolic peripheral proteins, right, and non-cytosolic peripheral proteins, NCCP and CPP. What do you understand by these two terms, CPP and NCCP? NCPP, it is just that cytosolic peripheral proteins means those peripheral proteins which are present on the surface of the cell membrane which is facing towards the cytosolic side. So this becomes a CPP, cytosolic peripheral protein, and the other one becomes the NCPP because it is facing towards the interstitial side, or you can say it is facing towards the non-cytosolic side of the RBC, right? So I hope you are understanding these things. Okay, now I am going to list examples of cytosolic peripheral protein, and they are nothing new again. They are spectrin and enkyrin. They are spectrin and enkyrin. Okay. Now, among all these proteins, I want to tell you something about band 3 protein because it is a very important protein. That is band 3 protein. Right. First, we will cover the integral protein. So integral proteins में से क्योंकि अपन RBC के context में बात कर रहे हैं, so we will be covering the band 3 protein and we will be covering the glycoproteins. Clear? तो band 3 protein की अपन पहले बात करते हैं. Now if I talk about the band 3 protein, first I will talk about the gene. Which gene encodes for the band 3 protein? That means chromosome. You know what happens, you must have in 12th class you must have read molecular basis of inheritance, that basically on our chromosomes we are having genes, और हर किसी protein को, हर किसी enzyme को हमारी body में gene encode करते हैं, right? So that basically that gene will be converted into protein by various methods of transcription and translation. We will be ultimately converting into a protein. I will not go into that much detail of molecular basis of inheritance, but yes, I expect all of you to just know all that stuff, right? If you don't know, then you should revise molecular basis of inheritance once again. Okay. Then band 3 protein, if I am talking about the gene of band 3 protein, and that is a very important gene that you should remember, SLC4A1 gene, right? SLC4A1 gene. I'm going to highlight this stuff. This is right. Now tell me, this is first thing that we have talked about. What are the functions of these band 3 proteins? So as I have told you, band 3 protein is a integral proteins, and earlier also I talked about it. Integral proteins are such proteins which are taking something from outside and returning that thing to the cytosolic phase. That means that doesn't that sound like कि cytosolic phase integral protein को बोल रहा है कि मेरे को ये चीज़ तुम बाहर मार्केट जाके ला दो, and the cytosolic and this integral protein is going to the market, which is nothing but the interstitial space, because the interstitial space is always filled up with material which it has got from the blood capillary, right? Interstitial space को ही तो blood capillary से material मिलता है, and that material goes inside the cell, right? So this interstitial space is basically a market, right? And from that market only the material is going to the cell with the help of these integral proteins, right? One such integral protein is also the sodium potassium ATPase. It is also integral protein because it is going to return potassium and let the sodium ions in the exchange of 2 potassium ions, 3 sodium ions are pumped inside. Okay, so yeah, I think you all see. So I'm talking about the functions of band 3 protein, and the first function that hits my mind is that it is an anion exchanger. What do you understand by anion exchanger? We'll just understand this thing term wise, right? तो अगर अपन सबसे पहले बात करें anion का मतलब क्या होता है, we know in chemistry we have read that we are having ions. ठीक है, ions क्या है, एक कंपाउंड को अगर मैं तोड़ दूं, जैसे सोडियम क्लोराइड है, जैसे अपना NaCl है, तो अगर NaCl को मैं वाटर में मिक्स कर दूं तो I will get sodium and chlorine, right? Now the sodium is also ion, chlorine is also ion, right? Are you understanding? The sodium is also ion and this chlorine is also a ion, right? So the anion exchanger that I am talking about, this anion is basically, so we are having two types of ions. We can have positively charged ions which we are calling as the cations, and we can have negatively charged ions which we are calling as anions. And when I'm concerned about the band 3 protein, so I've clearly written here that it is an anion exchanger. That means it is going to exchange anions for RBCs, right? In the respiratory physiology, you will be relating this stuff a lot more than you are capable of relating it here. But yeah, I'll tell you more about this. So anion exchanger, that means it is going to exchange anions, negatively charged ions. Okay, so let's suppose this is my RBC, right? This is my RBC, a very good green colored RBC I've drawn here. So what happens that this is a protein, this is a protein here. This protein is nothing but this is the band 3 protein. This is the band 3 protein, this is the integral protein. And what happens is sometimes the RBC has to let chlorine go outside in exchange of bicarbonate ions coming inside. Right? Sometimes the RBC has to let go chlorine outside in the exchange of bicarbonate coming inside the RBC, right? So in that exchange, this band 3 protein is helping, right? So this is an anion exchanger 1. This protein is also known as an anion exchanger 1. So this is its one function. Next function that I am going to talk about is that it is interacting with N-chirin. It is interacting with N-chirin, which is obviously a peripheral protein. So it is interacting with N-chirin. So once again I will draw that lipid bilayer, right? This is the lipid bilayer, and now this is the band 3 protein that I have drawn, right? This is the band 3 protein that I have drawn. Below the band 3 protein I am drawing this molecule here, right? It is attached to the cytosolic side of the cell membrane. It is attached to the cytosolic side of the cell membrane, and this whole of this protein, this full protein, this protein is the N-chirin protein. Which protein I am talking about? This protein is the N-chirin protein. So just now we talked about in peripheral protein section that N-chirin protein is the protein which is present at the cytosolic phase of the cell membrane. That's why it is called as CPP. Right now we are having the band 3 protein. This red color protein that I have drawn, it is the integral protein. This basically is the band 3 protein that I am talking about. Okay, so here this protein that I am talking about, it is a band 3 protein. Okay, now what happens in this case, this band 3 protein is interacting with N-chirin. It is joining with N-chirin, right? So it is joined with N-chirin. Interact ka matlab it has a connection with N-chirin, right? So yeah, this is also one thing. Band 3 protein कौन से phase पे connection रख रहा है N-chirin के साथ? At the cytosolic phase of the cell membrane, right? So yeah, that's all that I have to told you about band 3 protein. तो अगर इसके if we see the important functions of band 3, so it is one, it is helping in the exchange of anions, right? And other, it is having a protein interaction. It is having a protein interaction, right? That's all about band 3 protein. Now next, coming to the next integral protein, we have done band 3. Now we'll come to the glycophorin protein. Okay, so if I am concerned about these glycophorins, if we talk about these glycophorin proteins, they are also very important. Okay, so these glycophorin proteins, they are nothing but okay. So one thing that I want to tell you about glycophorin protein is, now these glycophorins, if I talk about these glycophorins, so these glycophorin proteins, they are basically 60% carbohydrates, right? These glycophorin proteins, they are basically 60% carbohydrates and they are 40% proteins. Right, so they are not proper proteins, but they are functioning like proteins, or we can say they're classified in proteins, right? They are no doubt they are 60% carbohydrates and 40% proteins also. Now what happens that glycophorin proteins, they are basically having 5 subtypes, right? So there are 5 types of glycophorin proteins that we have to talk about. Don't worry, we just have to read only one type, right? So there are 5 types of glycophorins. We are having A, B, C, D, E. Among all these, we have to talk about the middle one, that is the C. Now this glycophorin C, it helps in providing stability, right? And it is very important for the stability of the red cell, right? Of the RBC. plus it is providing shape to the RBC, right? It is providing shape to the RBC. And do you know what if this glycophorin C is absent? In condition where this glycophorin C is absent, it leads to elliptocytosis. In the previous lecture, I have covered this term. I think yes, I have covered this. I'm not sure. I have covered the important abnormal RBCs. So I think I have covered this term that there as well. Elliptocytosis. So what is elliptocytosis? In elliptocytosis, what happens? Normally the shape of the RBC is biconcave. In elliptocytosis, it appears as a crenated red cell. It appears as a crenated red cell. That means its shape is very much irregular. We can say this type of a shape is there of RBC, right? This type of shape is there. This is a elliptocyte, right? So that's why the absence of glycophorin C protein leads to elliptocytosis. That means there is change in the shape of the RBC, and obviously the membrane of the RBC becomes unstable because it is also helping the it is also providing stability to the membrane of the RBC. Stability to the membrane of the RBC. Clear? Now, what are other functions? Do you know there is another blood group in 12th class? If you have studied something apart from the ABO blood grouping system, are you aware of the Duffy system of blood grouping? Then there is a Kell system of blood grouping. Then there is a MN blood group system, and other systems are there as well. So in every blood group system is based upon certain antigens, right? जैसे ABO blood group system किस पे based है कि the particular RBC is having A antigen, the particular RBC is having B antigen only, or if the particular RBC is having no antigen, if the particular RBC is having A and B antigen as well, right? If the particular RBC is having RH antigen, so on that particular stuff is based the ABO and the RH blood grouping system that you must have studied. In MN blood group system also there is antigenic classification. Antigen के according ही classification करी जाती है. So MN blood group के जो antigens हैं, right? MN blood group के जो antigens हैं, they are provided by these glycophorins, right? So glycophorins also provide the antigens for the MN blood group system. That is also very important. So here we have covered the integral proteins. जिन integral proteins की अपने को बात करनी थी, यहाँ पर अपन ने पूरा discussion खत्म कर लिया integral proteins का. Now we will come back to the peripheral proteins. ठीक है? Now we will talk about peripheral proteins. तो peripheral proteins, if I talk about, so majorly जिनका मेरे को डिस्कशन करना है, फर्स्ट इज द स्पेक्ट्रिन विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एंड सेकेंड आई हैव टू टॉक अबाउट एनकायरिन, right? So what is spectrin? Spectrin is a cytoskeletal protein. What do you mean by cytoskeletal protein? See, this lecture is going to be a bit of a longer lecture as compared to the other lectures, because concepts इस lecture में थोड़े से ज़्यादा हैं, या फिर यूँ कहें कि थोड़ी बहुत we can say ratification वाला चीज़ें इसमें हैं. But I'm going to simplify all that thing for you. That's why it's going to be a longer lecture. So talking about spectrin protein, तो spectrin protein की अगर अपन बात करें, अभी हमने just देखा था spectrin protein comes under the category of CPP or NCPP. So if you guys remember, it comes in the category of CPP. That means it is a peripheral protein which faces towards the cytoplasmic phase of the cell membrane, right? So it is a CPP. Also, it is a cytoskeletal protein. Now, what do you understand by a cytoskeletal protein? Cytoskeletal proteins are those proteins which are providing a shape, to the membrane of the RBC, right? Right. In cytology, 11th class में भी आप लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा, या prior to blood physiology, there is also a unit in books, in your physiology books, that is cell physiology. तो उसमें भी you guys must have studied that there are microtubules and microfilaments which are present in the cell, right? अगर अपन ह्यूमन बॉडी की बात करें तो कौन ह्यूमन बॉडी को शेप दे रहा है, कौन इसको एक स्ट्रक्चर दे रहा है? स्केलेटल सिस्टम, राइट? स्केलेटल सिस्टम, यहाँ पे स्कल है, ह्यूमरस, रेडियस, अल्ना, इन द लोअर लिम्ब, फीमर, टिबिया, फिबुला, such type of bones are there, right? So likewise, सेल का स्ट्रक्चर कौन दे रहा है? सेल को स्ट्रक्चर देते हैं साइटोस्केलेटल प्रोटीन. सो स्पेक्ट्रिन इज ऑल्सो such type of a protein which is providing structure to the cell. Now, this protein is a heterodimeric protein. This protein, what I am talking about, this protein is a heterodimeric protein. This protein is a heterodimeric protein. That means this protein is having two subunits, alpha subunit and beta subunit. This protein is having alpha subunit and beta subunit, and beta subunit is heavier than alpha subunit. Beta subunit का जो weight है, that I guess is 2,40,000 daltons, and जो alpha subunit का weight है, that I guess is 2,20,000 daltons. Please, all the numerical values that I am giving you guys, please check them on your textbooks, right? जो any textbook that you are following, थोड़ा बहुत इधर उधर हो सकता है, बट जो भी आपके कॉलेज में टेक्स्ट फॉलो हो रही हो या नॉर्मली, तो मैं कहूँगा गाइडेंस की वैल्यूज दिया करो. बट ओके, heterodimeric protein, that means this protein is made up of two subunits, alpha subunit and beta subunit, and as I have told you that beta subunit is the heavier one, right? Now how these two subunits are arranged. So these subunits are intervening on each other. These two subunits, they are intervening on each other, right? That means if one subunit is like this, the other subunit will be like this. So this is not DNA, right? DNA की structure ऐसा नहीं है. DNA is somewhat like this. You guys know the structure of DNA. Believe that. Now, I'm talking about these alpha subunit and I'm talking about the beta subunit. तो जो alpha और beta subunits हैं, ये कैसे एक दूसरे पे इस तरीके से fold हो चुके हैं, like two snakes which are folding on each other, right? So this is how the structure of spectrin protein looks like. Now the spectrin protein is also interacting with encheirin protein. That means it is also joined to encheirin protein. अगर simple words से बोले, it is interacting with encheirin protein at the beta subunit. So through the beta subunit of the spectrin protein, the spectrin protein is able to interact with encheirin protein. Simple as that. Now we come to the encheirin protein. तो encheirin protein की अगर अपन बात करें तो encheirin protein के तो 2 points हमको ऐसे ही मिल गए, राइट? encheirin protein के तो 2 points ऐसे ही मिल गए, that encheirin protein it interacts with spectrin protein and it interacts with the band 3 protein, right? It also interacts with the band 3 protein. Now, do you know a term called scaffold? Are you aware of a term called scaffold? I'm writing it for you guys here. The term called scaffold, you must have heard it for the first time, or it will be better if you have heard it a lot before the lecture. The term scaffold means a thing which is interacting with other stuff. That means usually हम ये term proteins के लिए use करते हैं, scaffold protein. ये फलाना protein is a scaffold protein, right? So proteins which are interacting with other proteins, they are termed as scaffold protein. So can I say that this spectrin protein is a scaffold protein? Can I say this spectrin protein is a scaffold protein? This protein is a scaffold protein, right? Can I say this encheirin protein is also a scaffold protein? Yes, I can say. Do you know both of the spectrin and encheirin? Both of the spectrin protein and the encheirin protein, they are interacting with certain unnamed proteins as well. They are interacting with certain unnamed proteins on the cell membrane as well. And what all are these unnamed proteins? तो ये जो unnamed proteins हैं, ये कुछ भी नहीं है. These unnamed proteins are 4.1, 4.2, 4.9. तो ये जो proteins हैं, इनका काम क्या है? They basically, these proteins, they are basically providing deformability. What they are doing? They are providing deformability. They are providing deformability to the RBCs. They are providing deformability to the RBCs, right? That means basically जब भी question आए तो don't write deformability. I'll tell you how to write. They are providing plasticity. First thing that you should always mention about these unnamed proteins, that they are providing plasticity to RBCs, right? That means what? Plasticity का मतलब क्या? Plasticity का मतलब एक तरीके plasticity and elasticity, right? इनका मतलब आसपास ही है, right? That means they make the RBC more flexible. They make the RBC more flexible. और यहीं से एक term originate होती है, that is deformability. Deformability को समझने के लिए अपन यहाँ पे एक blood capillary मैंने draw करी है. I'm drawing a blood capillary here, and from this blood capillary here is my RBC, and this RBC has to pass through this blood capillary. And this is the biconcave shaped RBC which has to pass through this blood capillary. Now, what is the diameter or what is the size of RBC? Okay, let's talk about the diameter. So it is 7 micrometer, right? And this capillary, the diameter of this capillary that I have drawn, let's suppose is 7.5 micrometers. It is 7.5 micrometers. Okay? So it is a very narrow capillary. It is a very narrow 7.5 तो क्या नहीं. These are all things hypothetical. ठीक है, मैं बस आपको समझाना चाह रहा हूँ that what if एक RBC है, उसको एक बहुत ही narrow capillary को क्रॉस करना है So what is going to happen? This RBC is going to fold on itself. That means ये RBC कैसा हो जाएगा? This is the biconcavity और ये अपने पे ही fold हो गया, ठीक है, अपने पे ये क्या हो गया, fold हो गया. तो fold होने के लिए कौन से प्रोटीन ने हेल्प करी? They are these unnamed proteins. They are these unnamed proteins which are helping the RBC to deform, right? अपनी shape को change करने, to deform its shape. Are trying to understand? So this is basically what is the function of unnamed proteins. So these proteins, they are basically helping the RBC to be deformed. They are providing plasticity to the RBCs. I hope you guys are understanding these things. Okay. Now we are done with the stuff of proteins. Now what I am going to do, I am going to show you guys a very beautiful diagram, right? So please see this diagram. In this diagram, one can clearly note that this is the lipid bilayer, right? These white lines, they are the lipid bilayers, right? They are the lipid bilayers, and here on this side, these proteins that I have drawn, this one and this one, these are glycophorins. These are integral proteins. These are multi-pass integral proteins. These are polytopic integral proteins, which are glycophorins. And obviously, let's take into consideration the most important glycophorin that we have talked about, the glycophorin C, right? And here I have drawn this protein, right? This protein, this is also a very important integral protein. This is the band 3 protein which we are talking about. Clear? Okay. Now coming back to spectrin and chirin. So where are spectrin and chirin hiding? These proteins, the beta one and the alpha one. This is the spectrin. This is the spectrin, and one can clearly note here that these two, spectrin and chirin, they are basically presenting what? So they are basically showing you the intervening, right? So I told you that these two proteins are going to intervene on each other. Yeah, I told you that these two proteins are going to intervene on each other, and that is what is happening. Now here this green color protein, this green color protein that I have drawn here, this one is the N-chirin, right? So both spectrin and chirin, they are CPP. That means they are peripheral protein which are facing towards the cytoplasmic side. Clear? So what is happening here? What is happening here? This protein, this diagram I have shown you to understand how spectrin and chirin, they are interacting with other proteins, because I told you that these two proteins are scaffold proteins because they are interacting with other proteins. So how are they interacting? Let us just try to understand here. Now follow the beta subunit. Follow the beta subunit. Here you can see that the arrows that I am drawing, the beta subunit is interacting with these two proteins. What are these two proteins now? The three yellow color proteins that I have drawn. The three yellow color proteins that I have drawn, these are the 4.1, and this one is the 4.2 protein. 4.9 I have not drawn here, but yet it is also there. So the beta subunit, brown color shows interaction. Brown color shows what? Brown color is showing interaction. So the beta subunit is interacting with the 4.1. So this color is showing interaction. Clear? The beta, follow the beta subunit once again. This one. The beta subunit is also interacting with N-chirin. So here also is interaction. Plus the N-chirin is also interacting with the band 3 protein. So here also interaction is there. Then follow this is the alpha subunit, the sky blue colored, right? This is the interaction. So the alpha subunit. The main thing is that spectrin and N-chirin, they are interacting with other proteins as well. Here you can see N-chirin is interacting with band 3 protein, and N-chirin is interacting with spectrin, and N-chirin is also interacting with the 4.2. This line, are you seeing this line? This blue colored line that I am drawing, this shows interaction of spectrin with 4.2 protein. So these both of them, the N-chirin protein, both of them, the N-chirin and the spectrin protein, they are yes, these two, they are scaffold proteins. These two, they are scaffold proteins, right? Now what was the aim of this diagram, right? Can you tell me what is the aim of this diagram? Why I have drawn this diagram here? The simple reason that I want to give you guys is that this diagram shows you how the membrane of the RBC is supported from the inside. ठीक है, अगर उसकी biconcave shape है, if the RBC is having the biconcave shape, so there are a lot of proteins which are maintaining the biconcave shape of RBC, isn't it? There is spectrin, there is N-chirin, there are these 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 proteins as well. So what has happened? What will happen if spectrin and N-chirin are not there? Right? What will happen if spectrin and N-chirin are not there? So that is what I am going to do now. Spectrin and N-chirin, we know their importance now. Now they are absent. Now these two proteins are absent. Now what? When these two proteins, that is pectin and ankyrin, if these two proteins they are absent, what will happen? There will be the biconcave shape. The biconcave shape of RBCs, will it be maintained anymore? Tell me guys, the biconcave shape of RBCs, will it be maintained anymore? No, right? So what will happen? The biconcave shape, right? This was the shape of our RBCs, of our acute RBCs. Now the shape is gone. So what will happen? The RBCs will be spherical. The RBCs will be spherical in shape, right? So what will happen? There will be spherocytosis. This clinical condition is called as spherocytosis. Yes, this clinical condition I have called it spherocytosis, because in this clinical condition what is happening? The biconcave shape of RBCs is turning into spherical shape. And if the RBCs become spherical shape, then what problems are there? क्यों RBC spherical shape नहीं हो सकता? पहली प्रॉब्लम जो है वो है सरफेस एरिया की. जो हमारे आरबीसी का सरफेस एरिया है, द सरफेस एरिया ऑफ आर आरबीसी विल बी डिक्रीज्ड. ठीक है, क्योंकि बाइकनकेव शेप हमने बात करी थी. एडवांटेजेस ऑफ बाइकनकेव शेप, पहली बात तो वो फोल्ड हो सकती है. ठीक है, दूसरा उसके पास सरफेस एरिया ज़्यादा है. सरफेस एरिया ज़्यादा है तो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड और ऑक्सीजन की डिफ्यूजन का सरफेस एरिया ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. तो यहाँ पे सरफेस एरिया कम है. अगर स्फेरिकल शेप है तो सरफेस एरिया कम हो जाएगा. सरफेस एरिया कम हो जाएगा तो ऑक्सीजन कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का एक्सचेंज कम हो जाएगा, तो एसोसिएटेड पैथोलॉजीज होने लगेंगी, टिश्यू हाइपोक्सिया होने लगेगा. ठीक है, सेकंड प्रॉब्लम क्या होगी? डिफॉर्मेबिलिटी है क्या? Will there be any deformity? No, deformability will be totally absent. क्या अब just try to answer my question. There is a capillary. क्या उसमें से spherical shaped RBC है, पूरा फूला हुआ RBC, क्या वो अपने ऊपर फोल्ड कर सकता है? Earlier there was a biconcave shaped RBC, तो वो अपने ऊपर फोल्ड कर रहा था. Now will this spherical shaped RBC be able to fold on itself? No, deformability is gone. तो स्पेक्ट्रिन और एनकायरिन ये थोड़ी बहुत डिफॉर्मेबिलिटी भी दे रही थी. ठीक है, तो वो डिफॉर्मेबिलिटी नहीं है. ऑल द डिफॉर्मेबिलिटी मेजरली अननेम प्रोटीन्स की वजह से थी, लेकिन वो अननेम प्रोटीन्स भी तो स्पेक्ट्रिन और एनकायरिन से इंटरैक्ट कर रहे थे. दैट इंटरैक्शन इज ऑल्सो गॉन, राइट? तो डिफॉर्मेबिलिटी विल बी नॉट बी देयर. तो उसकी वजह से क्या होगा? उसकी वजह से ये होगा कि जब भी ये स्फेरिकल शेप आरबीसी किसी नैरो कैपिलरी में से क्रॉस करेंगे, प्लीज नोट दिस पॉइंट बाय योरसेल्फ, मैं सिर्फ एक्सप्लेन कर रहा हूँ. When these spherical shaped RBCs, whenever they are trying to cross through a narrow capillary, what is going to happen? They are going to lyse, right? They are going to burst. वो फट जाएंगे. ठीक है, वो रप्चर हो जाएंगे, उनका रप्चर हो जाएगा. तो what will happen? अगर आरबीसी का रप्चर हो गया, हीमोग्लोबिन बाहर आ जाएगा. हीमोग्लोबिन बाहर आ गया तो हीमोग्लोबिन टूट जाएगा किन में? हीम और ग्लोबिन में. ठीक है, हीम और ग्लोबिन में. इफ यू गाइज नो, द हीम कंपोनेंट ऑफ हीमोग्लोबिन इज मेड अप ऑफ आयरन एंड ग्लोबिन कंपोनेंट इज मेड अप ऑफ प्रोटीन्स. And globin component is made up of proteins, right? धीरे धीरे जब और हीमोग्लोबिन टूटेगा, धीरे धीरे when more hemoglobin will lyse, what will happen? Bilirubin level ज़्यादा होने लग जाएगा, right? The bilirubin level will be on a rise. ठीक है, जिसकी वजह से क्या होने लग जाएंगे? जॉन्डिस लाइक सिम्टम्स आने लग जाएंगे. ब्लड में बिलिरुबिन लेवल बढ़ जाएगा. बिलिरुबिन लेवल नॉर्मली 0.1 to 0.3, राइट? ये 0.5 कह लो. ठीक है, 0.5 मिलीग्राम पर डेसीलीटर ऑफ ब्लड. नाउ व्हाट विल हैपन? बिलिरुबिन लेवल बढ़ने लग जाएगा. क्यों? क्योंकि आरबीसी ज़्यादा फट रहे हैं, हीमोग्लोबिन ज़्यादा बाहर निकल रहा है. हीमोग्लोबिन बाहर निकल रहा है तो हीमोग्लोबिन टूटेगा तो आयरन बनेगा और धीरे धीरे अगर ज़्यादा हीमोग्लोबिन टूट जाएगा, धीरे धीरे बिलिरुबिन या बिलीवर्डिन जैसे पिगमेंट्स भी बनने लग जाएंगे, जिनकी वजह से ब्लड में नॉर्मल बिलिरुबिन लेवल रहता है 0.1, 0.3 या 0.5 तक कह लो, तो वो धीरे धीरे 0.6 हो जाएगा, 0.7 हो जाएगा. दैट कंडीशन, अगर वो 0.7 या 6 तक हो रहा है, दैट कंडीशन विल इज नोन एज हाइपर बिलिरुबिनीमिया. बिलिरुबिन लेवल ब्लड में बढ़ जाना. लेकिन अगर वो बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया, 1.2 से ज़्यादा हो गया, देन दैट टाइम विल बी जॉन्डिस. बॉडी में येलोविश डिस्कलरेशन होने लग जाएगा, राइट? आईज का जो स्क्लेरा है, द मेम्ब्रेन ऑफ द आईज, दैट विल ऑल्सो टर्न येलो. दैट कंडीशन इज इक्टेरस. That condition is icterus. Now what happens? और अगर अपन बात करें छोटे बच्चों की, तो छोटे बच्चों में हमको पता है ब्लड ब्रेन बैरियर. डू यू नो ब्लड ब्रेन बैरियर? व्हाट इज ब्लड ब्रेन बैरियर? हर चीज़ जो हमारे ब्लड में है, दिस इज द ब्लड कैपिलरी एंड दिस इज द ब्रेन, राइट? हर चीज़ जो हमारे ब्लड में है वो डायरेक्टली ब्रेन में नहीं जा सकती, बिकॉज देयर इज अ बैरियर इन बिटवीन विच रेस्ट्रिक्ट्स ऑल दोज थिंग्स टू पास. सिर्फ वो चीज़ें जो जिनकी ब्रेन को रिक्वायरमेंट है, वही चीज़ें ही इस बैरियर के थ्रू पास कर पाती हैं. दिस बैरियर इज मेंटेन्ड बाय अ स्पेशल टाइप ऑफ सेल्स विच आर नोन एज एस्ट्रोसाइट्स. ठीक है, आगे पढ़ेंगे एस्ट्रोसाइट्स. वैसे तो 11-12 की चीज़ है ये एस्ट्रोसाइट्स. तो होगा क्या छोटे बच्चों में इन ऑल द पीडियाट्रिक पॉपुलेशन और इन ऑल द इन्फेंट्स न्यूनेट्स व्हाट हैपेंस द ब्लड ब्रेन बैरियर इज नॉट प्रॉपरली डेवलप्ड. ठीक है, तो व्हाट हैपेंस अगर उनमें स्फीरोसाइटोसिस हो गया या किसी कंडीशन की वजह से बिलिरुबिन बिलीवर्डिन लेवल बढ़ रहे हैं, तो बिलिरुबिन बिलीवर्डिन बिकॉज द ब्लड ब्रेन बैरियर इज नॉट हाईली डेवलप्ड, सो दैट बिलिरुबिन एंड बिलीवर्डिन पिगमेंट्स विल पास इनटू द ब्रेन, राइट, एंड ब्रेन विल टर्न येलो. So that condition is called kernicterus. That condition is called kernicterus. तो we have just learned कि स्फीरोसाइटोसिस जो कि एक सिंपल प्रॉब्लम है उसकी वजह से कितनी एसोसिएटेड प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकती हैं, राइट. सो दिस इज हाउ यू रिलेट अ सिंगल कंडीशन विद अ लॉट ऑफ सिम्टम्स. ओके, दैट इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ फिजियोलॉजी. ओके, वी फाइंड ओनली वन थिंग विच इज एबनॉर्मल, और अगर वो एक चीज़ एबनॉर्मल है तो उसकी वजह से क्या क्या चीज़ें और ख़राब होने लग जाएंगी. वी कैन ईजिली एसोसिएट इफ वन हैज़ अ स्ट्रॉन्ग फिजियोलॉजी. ओके, now this spherocytosis that we are talking about is maximum times it is hereditary. And if it is hereditary, now try to relate once again, and if this is hereditary, what is going to happen agar ye hereditary hai? Very simple. If this condition is hereditary, then what is going to happen? Hereditary hai, that means it is by birth, right? So the time when an infant is born, he or she is having spherical shaped RBCs. तो वो spherical shaped RBCs जब उन narrow capillaries में से क्रॉस करेंगे, then what is going to happen? There will be lysis. तो bilirubin बिलीवर्डिन आने लग जाएगा ब्लड में, तो उनका लेवल धीरे धीरे अगर बढ़ेगा तो ब्लड ब्रेन बैरियर क्योंकि छोटे बच्चों में डेवलप नहीं है तो kernicterus. ठीक है, the bilirubin and bilirubin pigments they are going to leak out in brain. Are you getting my point? Okay, now we are done with spherocytosis. Then okay, so coming back to how we started with the red cell membrane, और यहाँ पर अपनी कंप्लीट हो चुकी है रेड सेल मेम्ब्रेन, राइट. तो रेड सेल मेम्ब्रेन को अगर मैं समराइज करूँ तो हमने क्या क्या पढ़ा. रेड सेल मेम्ब्रेन में हमने सबसे पढ़ा लिपिड बाइलेयर. जो हमारी रेड सेल मेम्ब्रेन है उसके अंदर क्या होती है, लिपिड बाइलेयर होती है. दिस लेक्चर हैज टेकन लॉट ऑफ टाइम. लिपिड बाइलेयर होती है. देन इसके अंदर क्या होते हैं, कुछ प्रोटीन्स होते हैं, राइट. एंड देन प्रोटीन्स के अंदर ही आना चाहिए वैसे तो स्पेक्ट्रम एंड काइलिन, बट यस बिकॉज दे आर फॉर्मिंग द मेम्ब्रेन स्केलेटन, वो मेम्ब्रेन को स्टेबिलिटी दे रहे हैं, so they are coming under the membrane skeleton. तो ये जो membrane skeleton है उसमें कौन कौन से दो प्रोटीन्स आ जाएंगे, स्पेक्ट्रिन एंड इनकाइलिन, राइट. and normal proteins में we can write about the band 3 proteins and the glycoproteins that we are having. Okay, so I hope आप लोगों को red cell membrane clear हो चुका है, right. Now we'll move on to a very small topic, functions. I will cover here only functions of RBCs. Now if I talk about the functions of RBCs, so functions of RBCs में क्या क्या आएगा, basic चीज़ें हैं, right. First thing, oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange. How it is going to happen? With the help of hemoglobin, with the help of the increased surface area of RBC. I am not going to explain this stuff again क्योंकि ये stuff हमने पिछले लेक्चर में कवर कर दिया था, right. Then coming back to our topic, the functions of RBCs once again. That was the first function. Another function is ABO blood grouping. ABO blood grouping. Not only ABO blood grouping, I should say blood grouping. So blood grouping requires antigens, right? Blood grouping हम किसके basis पे करते हैं, antigen. That this particular antigen if it is present on a particular person. Let's suppose this is a RBC. These are the 3 RBCs that I have drawn. And on these RBCs, do you know on these RBCs we just now talked about the lipid bilayer. तो sometimes what happens in lipids के ऊपर क्या रहता है, in lipids के ऊपर कार्बोहाइड्रेट की इस तरीके से चेन लग जाती है. This is the carbohydrate chain, right? This is the carbohydrate chain and कौन से carbohydrates? Oligosaccharides. You know what are oligosaccharides? In biomolecules you guys must have studied कि जो oligosaccharides होते हैं वो we can say 3 to 10 units of carbohydrates. 3 to 10 units of carbohydrate they are oligosaccharides. तो ये ओलिगोसैकेराइड अगर लिपिड्स के हेड के ऊपर जुड़ गए तो इस पूरे स्ट्रक्चर को मैं क्या बोलूँगा, दिस इज अ लिपिड एंड ऑन दिस लिपिड आई हैव अ चेन ऑफ कार्बोहाइड्रेट. दिस पर्टिकुलर स्ट्रक्चर आई एम गोइंग टू कॉल दैट अ ग्लाइकोलिपिड. Similarly, I am having a peripheral protein here. I am having a NCPP here. This is a non-cytosolic peripheral protein जो कि interstitial space की तरफ फेस कर रहा है. इसके ऊपर भी क्या लग गई, एक ओलिगोसैकेराइड की चेन लग गई. नाउ बिकॉज दिस चेन इज ऑन the protein. I'm going to call this structure as a glycoprotein. I'm going to call this structure as a glycoprotein. So basically what are antigens? ये antigens क्या है? ये antigens कुछ भी नहीं है. These antigens are just different arrangement of these glycoprotein and glycolipids on different individuals. ठीक है, उसी के हिसाब से एंटीजन बनाए जाते हैं. एक पर्टिकुलर अरेंजमेंट हमने देखी, उस पर्टिकुलर अरेंजमेंट को हमने नाम दे दिया ए. एक पर्टिकुलर अरेंजमेंट अपन ने देखी, उस पर्टिकुलर अरेंजमेंट को नाम दे दिया बी. ऑल्दो अगर वी टॉक अबाउट इन वेरी मच डिटेल, अरेंजमेंट ही बोल सकते हैं उसको अगर ऊपर से बात करें तो. इफ वी टॉक अबाउट इन अ वेरी सुपरफिशियल मैनर, इट इज अरेंजमेंट ओनली. बट येस, द शुगर, we have talked about the carbohydrate chain, right? The terminal sugar, उस carbohydrate chain में जो end sugar है वो कौन सी है, उस पर भी ये चीजें डिपेंड, उस पर ही बेसिकली ये चीजें डिपेंड करती हैं. ओके, सो आई एम गोइंग टू टेक अ लेक्चर ऑन दिस एबीओ ब्लड ग्रुपिंग लेटर ऑन इन दिस ब्लड फिजियोलॉजी सीरीज ओनली. उस समय पर अपन डिटेल में बात करेंगे कि क्या है ये एंटीजन. बट फॉर नाउ these antigens are the arrangement of glycolipids and glycoproteins on the surface of RBC membrane. तो अगर अपन ने एक अरेंजमेंट देखी उसको A नाम दे दिया, एक देखी उसको B नाम दे दिया. अगर एक पर्सन है उसमें दोनों अरेंजमेंट है तो उसको A भी दे दिया. एक पर्सन है उसमें एक भी अरेंजमेंट नहीं पाई गई तो उसको क्या बोलेंगे, उसको अपन ने O नाम दे दिया. आई ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड. तो ये जो ब्लड ग्रुपिंग सिस्टम है उसमें भी RBCs हेल्प करते हैं. दैट इज ऑल्सो फंक्शन ऑफ RBCs, राइट? द नेक्स्ट फंक्शन दैट आई एम गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट हियर इज that these RBCs, we have talked about this oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange. We have also talked about the blood grouping manner. Now the next function that we are going to talk about is viscosity. Now the next function that we are going to talk about is the viscosity. ठीक है, viscosity क्या होती है? ब्लड का गाढ़ापन कितना है, right? How much density the blood has got. So in that density, in the previous lecture or in the first lecture only, I think I have told you that 50% viscosity of the blood is contributed by two proteins, fibrinogen, right? Fibrinogen and albumin. Fibrinogen and albumin, majorly due to fibrinogen, but albumin also has a minor contribution. And rest of the 50% viscosity, it is contributed by RBCs. So RBCs are contributing in the viscosity of blood. Okay, so here we are also done with the functions of blood, right? Now the last part of today's lecture that is very interesting, obviously, that is fragility, right? That is fragility. So now we are going to talk about the fragility of RBCs. Now what is fragility? Fragility को अपन समझते हैं दो तरीकों से, right? Let's suppose I have a RBC, right? This is a RBC, right? And this RBC is spherocytosed, right? That means spherocytosis हो चुका है, spherical shaped RBC है, and I'm talking of two RBCs. I have RBC A, I have RBC B. Simple. This is also spherical shaped and this is also spherical shaped because both RBCs, I can tell you, both RBCs, they are having spherocytosis, both are having spherical shape, right? This RBC A, it is present in aorta. It is present in aorta because of the continuous flow of the blood. This RBC at this particular interval of time, dt interval of time, it is present in aorta. And the RBC B, it is present in very narrow capillary, right? Narrow capillary बोलने से अच्छा, let me explain you a different concept, that is of cords of Billroth. Do you know what are cords of Billroth? The cords of Billroth, they are present in the spleen. They are present where? In the spleen. And if you guys know, spleen is a graveyard of RBCs. So if the cords of Billroth and they are basically a tuft of very narrow capillaries. They are a tuft of very narrow capillaries. और उन नैरो कैपिलरीज में से जब अपने ओल्ड आरबीसीज पास होते हैं ना, जो आरबीसीज बहुत बूढ़े हो चुके हैं, राइट, ओल्ड आरबीसीज, राइट, तो वो क्या करेंगे, वहाँ पे उनका लाइसिस हो जाता है, राइट. 120 डेज का लाइफ स्पैन कंप्लीट करके जब वो आरबीसी इन टफ कैपिलरी में से जाते हैं तो वहाँ पर क्या होते हैं, वो आरबीसीज अपने ऊपर डिफॉर्म नहीं हो सकते. क्यों? क्योंकि जो आरबीसी ओल्ड हो गए उनमें प्रोटीन्स जो है 4.1 4.2 है, यूं का स्पेक्ट्रल एंड कायरिन, because the RBC has become now, because the RBC is now old obviously, तो उनमें क्या हो गए, जो प्रोटीन्स हैं, जो अपने स्ट्रक्चरल प्रोटीन्स हैं, जो साइटोस्केलेटल प्रोटीन है, जो इनको प्लास्टिसिटी दे रहे हैं, डिफॉर्मेबिलिटी दे रहे हैं, दे आर नॉट डीजेनरेटेड, राइट। तो कोई भी अब प्रोटीन नहीं बचा जो उस आरबीसी को हेल्प कर सके उसके ऊपर डिफॉर्म होने में, राइट। बिकॉज देयर इज नो प्रोटीन लेफ्ट, हाउ विल द आरबीसी डिफॉर्म? तो वो डिफॉर्म नहीं होता है अल्टीमेटली बाय द मैकेनिकल स्ट्रेस। जो कैपिलरी है, ये जो कैपिलरी है, अब वो आरबीसी डिफॉर्म नहीं हो पा रहा, तो अब इस आरबीसी के ऊपर कैपिलरी अपना प्रेशर एक्सर्ट करेगी और आरबीसी इवेंचुअली फट जाएगा, राइट। तो आफ्टर 120 डेज ऑफ लाइफ स्पैन जो ओल्ड आरबीसीज होते हैं, रिंकल्ड आरबीसीज होते हैं, उनको हम क्या बोलते हैं? पोइकिलोसाइट्स, राइट। Those old RBCs, they are known as poikilocytes. So hope you have understand this thing also. So cords of Billroth वो narrow tuft of capillaries. Got that? They are present in spleen. Remember that. Now I have put here a condition in front of you guys that I am having two RBCs, RBC A and RBC B. RBC A is present in aorta, RBC B is present in cords of Billroth. Which RBC do you think has a tendency to rupture? Has a larger tendency to rupture? Which RBC do you think has a greater tendency or increased tendency to rupture? You will say RBCB because it is present in the graveyard of the RBC and is present in cords of Billroth, right? And it is a spherocyte RBC. It is spherical in shape. While if we talk about RBCA, it is present in aorta, which has a very larger diameter as compared to these tuft of capillary. Are you trying to understand this thing? Right? So RBCB will rupture. So I am saying the fragility of RBCB is more than the fragility of RBCA. So I am saying the fragility of RBCA is less than the fragility of RBCB. Earlier I was saying that tendency to rupture of RBCA is less than that of RBCB. So now have you understood one thing? Now have you got my point that this fragility is nothing, it is just the tendency to rupture. So how is fragility defined? Fragility is defined as the tendency of RBCs to lyse, right? Or rather I should give this word hemolyze. Right, so this fragility is nothing but it is the tendency of RBCs to get hemolyzed. That means वो tendency RBCs की कि उन RBC में कितनी क्षमता है burst होने की. That is basically the tendency of RBCs to hemolyze. Now this tendency, this fragility, if I am talking about this fragility is of two types. This fragility is of two types. One is mechanical fragility. Right, one is mechanical fragility and the other one is mechanical fragility, and obviously the other one that I am talking about is osmotic fragility. Now what do you mean by these two types of fragilities? What do you mean by these two types of fragilities that are there? We will try to understand them. Mechanical fragility is very simple. Let's suppose I have an old RBC. Right, this old RBC, what I am calling this old RBC, I am calling this old RBC a poikilocyte, because we know that old RBCs are called poikilocytes, right? So this is the old RBC, this is the poikilocyte, and it is passing through the cords of Billroth. It is passing with the flow of blood through the cords of Billroth. There are high chances that it is going to rupture, right? How it is going to rupture? It is going to rupture by mechanical pressure. It is going to rupture by mechanical stress and strain over this RBC, by mechanical stress and strain over this RBC, right? तो ये एक मेरी नैरो सी कैपिलरी है और इसमें से एक ऐसा RBC जा रहा है जिसकी डिफॉर्मेबिलिटी है ही नहीं, right? जिसकी डिफॉर्मेबिलिटी है ही नहीं, तो it will obviously rupture ना, right? So what is mechanical fragility? How am I going to define mechanical fragility? It is the tendency of RBCs to hemolyze by mechanical stress and strain. And where is mechanical fragility of RBC is greater? It is greater in splenic pulp. Right? In splenic pulp, what is present? Cords of Billroth. Right? Now let's talk about osmotic fragility. Now before jumping to osmotic fragility, now I want to explain you a very beautiful concept. जिसके बाद अब अपन अपना पूरे लेक्चर अपन खत्म करेंगे, राइट? वैसे लेक्चर ही बहुत लंबा हो गया है. So I have taken 3 beakers. How many beakers have I taken, guys? I have taken 3 beakers. Right? These are 3 beakers. and in all of these three beakers I have RBCs. Right? Shape ढंग से नहीं बना, but these are RBCs. Right? Now, apart from RBCs in these three beakers, I have got a solution. Right? Let me name them. This is beaker A, this is beaker C, this is beaker C. Okay. Now what happens? In this A beaker, just remember, in this A beaker, I am having salt. In this A beaker, जो मेरे पास solution है, I am having salt and water in that solution, and the salt and water that I have in this solution is in such a manner that it is equivalent to RBCs. RBC के अंदर जो salt and water है और जो beaker के अंदर salt and water है, they are exactly equal, right? That means it is an isotonic solution, right? Do you guys agree that it is an isotonic solution? Now what is happening in this B beaker? In this B beaker, I am having water a lot more than what is present in the RBC. In this C beaker, I am having salt concentration a lot more than that present in the RBC, right? So what is going to happen? In this C beaker, the salt, because the salt is greater in the surrounding area of RBC, so through diffusion, always remember, through diffusion what is going to happen? The water is going to come out of the RBC, right? ताकि बाहर के solution को वो dilute कर दे, right? ताकि water concentration दोनों में equal हो जाए. That's why water is going to come out of the RBC. So ultimately what is going to happen? The RBC will become shrink, right? RBC will become shrink. If earlier the RBC was a very healthy RBC like this, now the RBC will be like this, shrinked RBC. Now this much, the B1. In the B beaker, I am having what type of solution? I am having hypotonic solution. And in this I am having hypertonic. What is hyper and hypertonic? Basically it is the tonicity. Tonicity मतलब किसमें कितना salt है. तो C वाले में ज़्यादा salt है, that's why hypertonic. B वाले में कम salt है, that's why hypotonic. A वाले में isotonic, that means RBC में जितना salt है उतना ही salt बाहर solution में, that's why isotonic term दे दिया. Now what is going to happen in this B beaker? In this B beaker, what is basically the water content is going to come from outside into the RBC. So RBC will be swelled up. So earlier if the RBC was like this only, now it is going to be like this. The RBC will be swelled up. In A there will be no change. Why no change? Because the water concentration on both the sides, in the RBC, outside the RBC, is exactly equal. So there is no net movement. Why there is no change? Because there is no net movement of water, right? Now tell me, in which of these three beakers, in A, B, C, we know that यहाँ पे RBC proper normal है, इसमें swelled up हो गया, इसमें shrink हो गया, किसमें chances है कि RBC will rupture? B beaker. क्यों? क्योंकि उसमें continuously जो हमारा RBC है वो फूलता जा रहा है. The RBC is swelling up, so there are chances of rupture. Right? So osmotic fragility is nothing but this only. Osmotic fragility is tendency of RBCs to rupture, not rupture, to hemolyze when they are exposed to, or when they are kept in different osmotic solutions. Wasn't that very easy to understand what is osmotic fragility, right? Now at last I want to give you guys a clinical point of view. Please try to understand. This is going to be the last part of this lecture. Do you know, let's suppose there is a patient having normally we are having 5 liters of blood, and let's suppose there is a patient who is having 3 liters of blood. Now what? इसमें blood की concentration is so much low, the patient is going to suffer from, there will be tissue ischemia, ठीक है, टिश्यूज में apoptosis होने लग जाएगा, necrosis होने लग जाएगा. Why? Because hypoxia हो रहा है, ऑक्सीजन नहीं पहुंचेगी ढंग से, right? There will be, we can say, organ failure due to ischemia. Are you trying to understand? There will be a lot of symptoms अगर ये 3 लीटर ब्लड ही रहा पेशेंट में. तो हम क्या करते हैं? We admit the patient और उसमें हम saline चढ़ाते हैं, right? We inject saline into the patient, right? We are injecting saline into the patient. So when we are injecting saline into the patient, what is happening? अगर ये जो saline है इसमें salt concentration या water concentration ज़्यादा है as compared to the cytoplasm of RBC. So what is going to happen when we inject the saline? The RBC is going to take up all the water and it is becoming swelled up. तो RBC का hemolysis होने लग जाएगा, राइट? अगर इस सलाइन में सॉल्ट कंसंट्रेशन बहुत ज्यादा है, पानी की कंसंट्रेशन बहुत कम है, तो आरबीसी जैसी as soon as this saline is injected into the blood, the reaction is very fast. The RBCs, they are going to lose out all the water into their surrounding area and will become shrink. So associated symptoms आने लग जाएंगे patient में, right? That's why the saline that we are injecting in the patient is always and always isotonic. That is one thing that you guys should remember, that the saline that we are injecting in the patients which are having low blood volume, that saline is isotonic saline. Now what happens that basically, so we are injecting isotonic saline, and in those isotonic saline we can have 0.9% of NaCl, we can have 5% of glucose, we can have 10% of mannitol. What is mannitol? Mannitol is derived from mannose. It is an alcohol derived from mannose. We can have 20% of urea. So these are certain examples of concentration of solutions which are exactly isotonic to RBCs. Okay? So I hope you have understood today's lecture. तो आज अपन ने क्या क्या कवर करा? We have successfully completed RBC membrane. We have completed the functions of RBC, and at last we have also done the fragility. Right? If you guys have any doubts, I have a Telegram channel with the name of More Than Medicine. I'm also having an Instagram page by the name of More Than Medicine. Do follow that page, right? And if you are having any doubts, you can just message them on the Telegram channel of mine, right? Thanks a lot.